Welcome back to the Burr Investor Podcast, where our mission is to empower aspiring real estate investors in their journey towards building generational wealth. All right, I'm super stoked about today's episode. I have my good friend Miguel here. Miguel, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time, man.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to dropping tons of game and seeing where I can help people out.
Absolutely. So listen up. If you're looking to scale your real estate business by obtaining funding, you got to listen to this guy. The episode is going to be geared towards real estate and real estate investors in general, but in my opinion, the strategies that Miguel is going to be talking about can apply to any business owner and any entrepreneur. So, listen very, very carefully. Miguel is a credit specialist and he also helps real estate investors scale faster by guiding them on how to obtain funding and offers such services through his coaching program, which he'll talk more about here. So, again, Miguel, thanks again for coming by, man.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. You basically hit it right on the head. That's exactly what I help people out with is essentially what I'm doing is I'm helping, real estate investing become more approachable for like the everyday person, right? A lot of people where we've seen kind of the gap with the reason why people can't get into real estate is, right, it's going to take them years and years to save up that cash for that down payment. All the while they're going to be renting, if you're in California, you're looking at like 2 grand, 3 grand, whatever it is a month. And you're basically just paying off some other landlords mortgage, not getting any equity. And, all that money that could have gone into 1 year towards rent could have been towards a down payment. And essentially, what we're helping people do is, if the hardest thing is getting that down payment money and you don't want to have to wait and save and lose out on deals, then we kind of come in and help people, one, optimize their personal credit profiles. But number two is get them, whether it's 50, 100, 200, 300K at no interest through 0% interest business credit cards. From there, we pull the cash from the cards and use that as the down payment. And then just like any other real estate investment, use the lender, whether it's like hard money, private money, DSCR, whatever type of lending you need to fund the rest. And boom, now you literally get into these properties with no money out of pocket or as close to as little money out of your pocket as possible. That's always the goal. And, to pay as minimum interest as possible. That's what we're all about here.
And that's what I love most, about you, what you do, and what you in general. When we first connected and we met, you know, I'm like, dude, this guy. It's like this guy is exactly doing what I wish somebody would do. It complements what my mission is, right? As you know, I'm passionate about helping people get into real estate investing, getting their foot in the door, right? Taking action. Because a lot
That's
of
the
people
hardest
want to do
part.
it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But they don't know how. And then you watch all these YouTube videos, you listen to everybody else. They're like, either discouraging you, telling you, oh, you need 20% down, it's
Mhm.
impossible, why are you doing this? Or you watch these gurus saying like, 0% down payment or zero money out of pocket, but it's like, how do you do it, right?
Mhm.
So people like yourself, it's all about getting creative, thinking outside the box. Yeah, you got to take risks, but it's like, there's ways to do it for everyone. It's You don't have to be
Yeah,
rich, you don't have to save
yeah.
a lot of money for it. So that's why I'm so excited about, you sharing your story, sharing about your coaching program, what you do for everybody, because it's something I'm truly passionate about and I want to spread the word. And it's ways that I use personally to scale my real estate business. So
Mhm.
with that said, let's touch a little bit about, your real estate journey in general and how did you get into real estate? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say I started about, what was it like almost 4 years ago is when I started, and kind of how I got into it. It kind of fell, I kind of got motivated from other people in my network. So like that's like another topic too. Like, surround yourself around people like Alex, me, or just anyone doing things that are extraordinary or inspire you. But, a couple of years ago, I had a buddy of mine that I went to college. He got into Airbnb arbitrage. I saw that he was crushing it there, and I was just asking him more about it because, in college, me and him, he and I used to be just complete idiots, just party all the time, just, just total goofballs, and seeing that he was crushing it, like really lit a switch off in my head. I was just like, dude, this guy is not as hardworking. Like I could work just as hard as you. We come from the same place. There's literally no reason why I can't be successful in this as well. And after kind of learning his journey, him giving me the right resources, pointing me in the right coaching program directions, that's when I got started. So I'd been thinking about real estate for years. I just didn't know when it was going to come. But at that point, when I saw somebody in my network crushing it, that's when I was like, okay, I could do this too. Once I got inspired, the next big thing was just like, okay, cool. I know what that money making vehicle is going to be, but like I don't have any money, right? And that's like most people. Most Americans don't have like 5 grand saved to their name, even. But I knew this financial vehicle would make me money, and the way I like to think about what we do here is right. We choose a financial vehicle. That's the funding. Then we choose the gasoline is essentially the funding because every car needs gas to run, and the backbone of real estate really is just having the funds to get started. Like you said, the hardest part about real estate is getting started. Once you get that first property and get your foot in the door, then it just keeps piling up. You're able to roll things over. What I did is I actually got approved for a 0% interest business credit card. With that LLC at the time, it was brand new. My personal income was super low, didn't have any business revenue, obviously, but because I knew the funding game, I was able to get approved for 25K right off the bat. I used that 25K to invest in this like 5K coaching program for Airbnb. And then the rest of the money I used to get in my first Airbnb arbitrage deal. And then, long story short, from that one deal, I got connected with other landlords that were willing to let me do the arbitrage method, made a lot of money from that, and scaled it from one Airbnb unit to 7. And then once I got to that 7 mark, I was just like, okay, cool. I've been doing this for a couple of years now. Like, what's next? Like I don't want to get complacent. So then from there, I started getting into fix and flips. I actually moved from California all the way to Indianapolis. I literally called a buddy of mine that I'd been, keeping tabs on for the last couple of years. And I told him, I was like, look, if I move out there, I'll leave like my friends, my family, whatever, my girlfriend to come move there. If you're willing to teach me how to do it, like I'll even work for free at first. I worked with him on 7 different fix and flip projects. And by the 8th one, I was just like, okay, cool. Let me invest some of my own cash in here. So at that point, I grabbed 75K, no interest, pulled the cash from the cards, didn't pay that cash advance fee, got into that deal. And now we have a duplex that we're actually wrapping up now. And it's looking like it should be bringing in a minimum of at least, 80 to 100 in profit with after all the numbers are made. So that's kind of how we got into it. It kind of fell on my lap. I got inspired. And again, the biggest hurdle was just figuring out the funding. And at first that was my excuse. I was like, oh, I can't do this because I don't have the money, but figured out the money side. And now 3-4 years later, now we're all in. So
That's
that's
an
kind of how we
amazing
got
story,
here.
man. That's an amazing
Yeah,
story. And it's very similar to, many people's stories, right? There's always going to be obstacles on why you shouldn't get started or why you should, keep looking into it and you think you have to know everything before you get started. It's not the case. So what I
yeah,
heard from you is, a few things, and correct me if I'm wrong. So it sounds like, surrounding yourself by like-minded people is crucial.
of
Having the right
course.
mindset, right?
Mhm.
It's going to be scary. There's going to be fear, but you got to
Yes.
get past that. And then investing in yourself by, educating yourself or by getting in, investing in a coaching program or the right mentor, right?
Exactly. Like you said, like, right, having that mindset to actually do it, surround yourself with people where you see that it's possible. But the third most important part really is investing in mentors. Like, I feel like with just mentors and coaches in general, it gets a bad rep because of people like, oh, this is a scam. I never spend a couple grand, whatever it is, to learn this. I could just YouTube university it for free. But like, let's be real, guys. Like, if you guys have probably already spent tens and thousands of dollars on college, and I'll tell you right now, if you're not being like a doctor or a lawyer, you're basically getting scammed. Like I studied business, and 90% of what I've learned came out of the classroom, me reading books on my own, me investing tens and thousands of dollars in other coaches. And this stuff works, right? I'm sure there are some bad, you might have had some bad experiences or just didn't get the results that you wanted, but I can't stress how having a coach is the most important thing. Like before I really got the credit thing down, I invested into two other coaching programs, and they're, to be totally honest, it was kind of total bullshit. Like it was very high level, didn't even, like I applied what they taught us, didn't really get the results. And by the third one, that's where it really took off, got a really strong grasp. And now I'm able to, being able to learn from that, helping others. Now that's what I do full time now, is helping other people learn the funding game so that they can invest in real estate. But like you said earlier, this applies to really any business. Every business needs money, and we'll completely remove that issue of funding out of the equation so you can start and scale. But yes, 100% having a coach is going to be an absolute game changer. It's going to fast track your progress and process so much faster than you trying to learn it on your own.
Yeah, exactly what you said. It's going to fast track. It's going to, allow you to get through things faster, and you're going to learn from their mistakes, their experiences, and the successes and failures that they've gone through. And that's what I, share with others is like, find somebody that's a good fit for you, right? Whether it's
Hmm.
me or anybody else, you have to be aligned. You have to have, commonality. And it's sad though, like you mentioned, there are programs out there that are, scams. There
Yeah.
are programs out there that may also not necessarily be scams, but you end up, it may not be the right fit. It's not what you're looking for. One thing
Hmm.
that I would say though is like, don't let those things discourage you, right? I've made
Yeah.
those bad decisions. I've gotten into programs that were not necessarily beneficial or maybe a waste of time, but I
Hmm.
still, invest in coaching myself. And, I have four different coaches for different parts of my business because I believe that helped me scale my business, right? It's going to help me get to where I want to get to faster and learn from others. So, I'm a big believer in coaching, and like you mentioned, I think that is the crucial part. So, with that said, can you let's get into, a little bit more into coaching. Like, how did you get started in coaching?
Yeah, so going back full circle to that story I was telling you. So the first two coaching programs I ever invested, right? It was kind of BS. By the third one, it was actually a buddy of mine, Jack McCall's program. He was a friend of mine, and he started learning credit, and he was pitching me on his program. And I was like, look, dude, I've already invested like 10 grand into those other programs. Like I've already got a bad taste in my mouth, but I like you and I trust you. So just give it to me straight. Like, what else are you going to teach me that I hadn't learned already? Just because I don't want to buy the same thing for the third time, you know? And, I just told him, I was like, here, what's different? Here's what I'd like to learn. Do you have that? And he was just like, all right, boom, XYZ. And I was like, dude, screw it. I trust you. Like and we already had that trust. We had known each other for years. So I was like, all right, let's do it. Gone to the program, and I absolutely loved it. I learned so much more than the other programs, and I loved it so much because one, I got very proficient at it. And then number two, that's what I used to get into the Airbnb stuff. And the Airbnb was the first time I ever had a business that was successful, actually profitable. And kind of just change gears real quick on something you said, is like sometimes we might make mistakes, fail, or invest into a coaching program that's not really beneficial for us. But something I heard was lately is less like any of these failures or these skills that you didn't think you needed to know in the past, they all stack up eventually later to get you ready for something. So I never look at, if I lose money, if I fail, or I totally fuck up on something, I always have a positive spin on it. It's like, okay, this is just one way of not doing it, or this is helping me gain the skill that's going to prepare me for something later. So I just wanted to touch up on that since you brought it, you had talked about it earlier, but kind of how I got into the coaching was I learned from this guy, trusted him, and I loved it so much because it helped me build my first profitable business. And, I told him, I was just like, look, like, I'll literally help you sell this program because I love it so much. And, I just have like a side gig as well because the Airbnb stuff wasn't as like active income and not enough yet to completely just, only rely on that. But I helped him grow his business from 25 students to 2,500. So I did that for the last 2 years. And the whole time, like, yeah, I was working sales, but the reason why I was the top salesperson there for the last 2 years was because I was actually coaching people, because I was that program was a little bit more do it yourself, and I would straight up tell people, I'm like, look, I've done the program, here's my experience. If you're still on the fence, I will literally apply for your I'll help you do your first application. So like really getting that conviction into people, letting them know like this is a no-brainer offer, you know, this guy's going to actually help me get the results. It's not like, hey, here's a coaching program, like good luck. And that's kind of how I fell into it. Is I came in for sales, but I actually started coaching it too. And then 2 years crushing it at that role, I actually parted ways, let them know like, thank you so much for the experience. I've learned a lot. I'm actually going to go start my own coaching program, more geared towards real estate investors. Again, you can apply this to anything, but I niched it down to real estate investors just because that's what I did, and that's how I got here. I would say the road to coaching and quitting that job was not easy, just like anything. You get really excited at first, and then you jump into it and you're like, holy crap, there's a lot of stuff I got to learn. And, you know, I'm actually about to be 1 whole year into this new business of doing the coaching solely on my own. And now we've got like what, 25 students right now. So been helping a lot of
Amazing.
people out. So it's been awesome.
That's awesome. And it sounds like, you hold their hand through the process, you guide them through the way, you help them overcome those challenges and fears, moments of fear and stuff like that. So that's awesome, man. Great job. Congrats on that.
Yeah, thank you. Exactly too, because like when I was building this program, like obviously I had so much experience working with them. And for me, I was just like, okay, how do I differentiate myself and like what's my learning style? I did well in a do-it-yourself type of environment, but I understand like for me, it would have been nice to have somebody, you know, not necessarily do it all for me, but like do it with me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I came in, is just like, okay, you got to do it yourself program, like let me do it with people to make sure they actually learn it,
Hmm.
and it's not just dropped on, here's a bunch of course modules, good luck type of thing. But yeah, really making sure, you know, being invested with students, you know, that's why I do one-on-ones with people. And it's just like, hey, I want to like, let me tell you exactly what we need to do, how to do it, here are the resources we're going to refer to, who to do it with, when to do it, and try to make it as easy as possible for
Hmm.
people. And that's the goal, because the sooner they get results, the, you know, the faster I get paid in full, but also too, the more confidence they're gonna have, the sooner they see even like the slightest wins.
That's amazing. So I'm sure you've learned a lot along the way, from this journey that you've gone through. Tell us a little bit about, what have you learned from building this coaching program itself specifically?
Yeah, man, I've learned tons. Well, one kind of what I mentioned is like working for that other company, I was doing a lot of fulfillment and sales. Getting into this all by myself. Now, the biggest thing I learned was just like, okay, not only am I doing sales and fulfillment, I got to learn marketing. I need to learn how to get leads. I need to learn a lot of the back end tech stuff. Like all these little skills started piling up. So in the beginning, when you're starting anything, you're going to be super excited, and then you jump in, you're like, holy crap, this
Yeah.
kind of sucks. I'm like, but when I was working for them, I was making, you know, only working like 4 or 6 hours a day, just crushing it, cranking out tons of, like the paycheck was really good. And then coming here, I was just like, holy crap, I'm working double the hours, if not triple the hours.
Hmm.
And I'm not getting paid shit. Like at first, you know, at first, the first 6 months, or not 6 months, I'd say the first 4, 5 months were really kind of, I call it the valley, the shadow of death with businesses, right? You get excited because you don't know what you're getting yourself into. And then you get into it, find out like, holy crap, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And there's so many parts in that process where I was just like, dude, I want to quit. Like, I'm like not making any money right now. I'm doing all this stuff, not seeing any results. But for you guys watching, like one of the biggest things that helped me push through that valley of death and just that pain of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and like telling myself, like, you know, you're not good enough, this isn't going to work, you know, you're wasting your time, your money, like that. I feel like that happens a lot with people. But the thing I kept reminding myself was like, you know, I get scared of the thought of like having a regret. Like if I don't do this, like what could it, like instead of being afraid of losing, I try to focus more on being motivated of like what's the upside? Like what would it look like if I actually won at this? So that's number one is stop being afraid of losing, take risk and be more focused on the possibilities of winning. And number two, the thing I kept telling myself was, I'd rather fail and lose at this and lose a bunch of money and time or whatever, even though it is still a lesson, and know that it wasn't going to work, then wonder the rest of my life if this was going to work at all. So just having that healthy, positive curiosity and just reminding myself, like, look, I just got to keep going. I can't lose if I don't quit, and just celebrate every tiny win. And something I've been learning, and I'm trying to be more conscious about, is like a win isn't a result. A win is action. Because at the end of the day, you can't control, like, if I'm selling a lead, telling them like how awesome this product is, I did everything I could. I took the right action, and they just don't purchase it. Like I can't beat myself up for it. So it's
Yeah.
not even just about the revenue. It's like on those hardest days where I haven't seen a dollar bill for the last 4 months. I was just like, all right, Miguel, this sucks, but pat on the back. I had a great call with this guy. Hopefully they close. If they don't, like, it is what it is. So I'd say the three things is, I guess one is just be more focused on the win, not being afraid to lose. And number two, just celebrate those wins. No, you can't lose if you don't quit. And those were that got me to where I'm at now, from 0 to 25 students. We've raised over $1 million in 0% funding with all the students, and we're going to keep growing that number and the students. But what I've learned too, like, as far as if you're building a business, the main people you need somebody for sales and marketing. If you don't have those two things, nobody gives a shit. You could have the best product, best offer, but if nobody knows about it, you're not going to make money. And if no one's there to sell it, then you're definitely not making any money.
Mhm.
So those are kind of like the biggest things I've learned on my journey. I'm just trying to remind myself, take it one day at a time, be patient. It's not all going to come at once, but if you continue to water this seed day in and day out, you will see results. It's kind of like a farmer, right? They're going to plant a seed. They aren't seeing the fruit for, a whole season, 3, 4, 5, 6 months or whatever, but it all comes out and blooms, and then you get to enjoy the fruits of your labor. And that's kind of what I've reminded myself. And I'm learning every day with this business how to delegate and just kind of focus on my strengths. But it's been a journey. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm like an expert business startup guy, but I would say I'm ahead than most people, and I'm learning every day. So I'm
Amazing.
loving the journey so far.
It's all about the journey, man. It's all about, you have to embrace the journey, right? And
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
it sounds like for you, fear was, if the fuel to get you going, to actually go after your dreams, rather than to hold you back.
Yes. Yeah. I think too, like fear is like fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Like a lot of people try to avoid those type of negative emotions, but like I felt like I transmutated that energy and used that to at least motivate me in the beginning. And then as we're starting to see results, to be like, okay, I got a little bit of results. I want more of that. So instead of just using the fear of like, oh crap, I'm gonna go broke, I need to bust my ass. Like now I'm using a little bit of that, but also, who am I as a person? Like setting my goals up based off of like, who do I want to become? And if you could really define that identity, like identity is the most powerful factor of motivation, and for me, like I identify as a person, like I'm going to be a beast. I'm going to be a CEO. I'm going to be the type of man that could take care of my family, my wife, my kids, whatever, when I have them. And just knowing that I'm that type of person, I'm going to figure out whatever actions need to be happening, and then I'm going to reap the benefits of being that type of person, being able to travel, being able to make a shit ton of money, being able to work on my own hours. So that's always been something that's kind of like motivated me, is just really dialing in on who my identity is, to help guide me into making the right decisions and actions.
Awesome. Very, very cool. So, those of you that are listening, Here's how you can purchase real estate with no money out of your pocket.
Yeah,
All right.
let's get
This is
into
this
it.
is what everybody wants to hear. So, tell us how you're helping people do that, purchase real estate with no cash out of pocket.
Yeah, so I'll actually even give you like a real example. I just signed up a student literally just yesterday. She's only 19. She was telling me, but look, my dad, my income's not too high, but my dad's willing to co-sign, but I just need to save up for the down payment, and I just don't have that. It's going to take me years. And I just broke it down from a very high level overview of like, look, right, your goal is to be able to travel, be able to invest in more assets. And she was like, yeah, I like real estate because it appreciates. I'll be able to write it off the depreciation. It's going to cash flow. I want to build equity. And I was like, okay, cool. What's the number one thing holding us back? She's like, I don't have money. I'm like, okay, cool. So we agree real estate's the financial vehicle. We just need the down payment. So what we're doing is we get approved for 0% interest business credit cards. I'll walk you guys through how that process looks like, but just as like an overall investing strategy, the whole idea is we're going to invest into these assets. The 0% cards are only 0% interest for 12 months, right? But there are ways to extend the 0% terms for multiple years. Basically, we could refinance that card onto a different 0% business credit card to buy ourselves even more time. So we invest that into the asset. That's the down payment. We go through a conventional lender to fund the rest. We get a renter in there paying off the mortgage, and month after month, you're gaining equity, right? So now you have an asset that's basically paying itself off. It's appreciating. You bought it with none of your own cash. And by the time the 0% terms end, you have two choices, right? Either we refinance it onto another card to buy ourselves more time at no interest and keep letting the renters build up our equity. Or, after 1 year, literally just take out a home equity line of credit or a cash out refi to be able to pay back the 0% interest business credit cards when they expire. Because once they expire, it goes from 0 to like 20% interest. And we're not in the business of paying any interest rates at all, right? So we need to have multiple exit strategies. And I was telling her, like, right, like, do you believe within a year or even a couple years this property is going to appreciate? She said yes. And I was like, okay, so there's another exit strategy. Worst case scenario, we just sell the property, and no matter what, you'll have enough to pay back the cards and you get to keep what's in the middle, your profit. Or we refinance it, or we refinance it onto another 0% card, or do like the HELOC, cash out refi, whatever you want to do. So we just really broke it down. Like, look, there's so many different ways of making money, and there's so many different exit strategies to pay it back. And that's that's basically the whole strategy we teach people, right? Is how do we get in with no money out of pocket, or, as little money out of pocket. And as long as you're leveraging this debt into an asset, there's literally no reason. I mean, there are some things, right? You never know if the house, if you bought it at a horrible deal and the price goes down even worse, then you're in a tough position. But hey, we could refinance that card onto another 0% card, buy ourselves time, and hopefully within a couple of years, the house will appreciate. So that's what the investment strategy looks like. Now, to actually get the 0% interest business credit cards, that's a whole nother thing. We've basically broken it down to a science. And Alex, for you, put yourself, and the viewers, people watching this, put yourself in the bank's shoes. If, Alex is coming to you asking you, hey, I want to get approved for a 50K 0% interest business credit card. The banks, the two things they just want to know is, one, do we think Alex is a trustworthy borrower? And number two, do we think his business has a lot of potential to, grow and, eventually pay us back, And to do that, to look like a trustworthy borrower, banks just look at your credit score and your credit profile. So credit score wise, you want to be at least a 700 plus. Credit profile wise, you don't want any negatives on your credit profile. So if you have late payments, collections, whatever, you have two choices: either wait 7 to 10 years for them to fall off, or go through the credit repair process to get them removed. And that's something we actually help a lot of our clients who aren't qualified yet get that removed. Typically, you want to have at least 3 personal credit cards with high limits, an average 10K per limit, just because if a bank sees Alex with only one credit card with a 500 limit, they aren't going to trust you with a 50K card on the business side, right? So we just want to have good comparable credits. We don't want maxed out cards. Typically, we want it below 20% utilization for each card. You don't want more than 3 hard inquiries within the last 6 months. If you have more than that, then there are ways of wiping off those inquiries. And if that's something you guys are interested in, I'd be more than happy to share that training with you guys. But that's, and then I guess lastly is having relatively old average credit age. So at least 2 years. That's typically kind of like the check boxes we take on clients. If they're not ready, then we have a way to help speed up that process. So that's how you look like a trustworthy borrower. To make your business look more attractive, right? The main thing that how we're able to kind of build that trust with those banks is we, instead of applying online, most people, they'll just fill out an application online. Application goes through a computer algorithm. The bank doesn't really know what you're about, and people get denied or get low limits. What we do is we've already established high level connections with these banks with what's called a senior level VP relationship manager. And basically, they're kind of the gatekeepers between you and the underwriting teams. And they're essentially going to help apply for your business's behalf to help you get that maximum funding. Because the way they work is they get paid a commission from the banks based off of how much they get you approved. So it's in their best interest to get you that funding. However, you can't just walk into a bank and be like, hey, I want to work with a really senior level VP relationship manager, right? You need to have connections and you need to know what that bank's specifically looking for to be able to even pre-qualify to work with them. And that's what we walk people. You need to know what to tell the banks, right? You don't want to say anything that's going to red flag you guys and make you look like a very risky business. So we actually know exactly what to tell the banks. More importantly, how to fill out the applications, because how banks work is a lot of these banks, they're willing to lend out based off of your estimated incomes and revenues. And the thing with estimated numbers is, this is very subjective, and it's based off of how much you think you're going to make if you get the funding. So I always recommend to people, be optimistic, but at the same time, you don't want to overstate things too much, because if you do, then the banks are going to red flag your account. They're going to do what's called a doc check, ask for bank statements, tax documents, all this information, make you jump through hoops. And if you can't prove that, the bank isn't going to want to work with you anymore. So that's basically, as far as getting the funding, that's it. Have the right credit score, have the right credit profile, connections to high level bankers, know what to say, know what to put on the applications. If you have those 5 things, there's literally no reason why you wouldn't be able to get funded. This is the same strategy I use to get over 300K at 0% interest business credit to do all the investing I've done. So it's a proven system, and I want to help more people who are struggling to get into the market be able to leverage that so that they could get their first deal, after a year, pay off the cards, use whatever equities left in the house, get another 0% card, and be able to rinse and repeat that process and buy another house the next year. And that's basically the goal. Is I want to be able to help my students get at least like 1 or 2 additional deals a year by leveraging what they're learning with the business credit.
This is amazing. I mean, like you mentioned, there's risks involved in everything. This is something that, could be huge on a person, and, help them build generational wealth, just helping them get started, overcoming the challenges of not having funding. So you heard it here. Miguel just shared with everyone how you can actually truly get started. This is one of multiple ways. I've seen it happen, and it's something I work with day by day. Is this is one way of how you can get started investing in real estate with no money out of pocket, right? And then you shared with us the different things, the specific things that one needs to keep in mind to be able to get approved for those higher limits, right? Keeping your
Exactly.
the amount of inquiries, your balance, and having multiple credit lines on there. It's important. Some people, they don't like to get any credit on their report, and it's like, why am I not getting approved? You don't want to wait until you're ready to buy a car, you're ready to buy a home for you to build your credit. You got to start. You have to have
Exactly.
at the very least, like 3 credit lines on there. So these are amazing nuggets, man. Thank you so much for sharing them. Tell us, I know you're always, motivated. You're always high energy, and I love that. So
Thank
tell us
you.
what motivates you the most.
I mean, honestly, for me, and this is what I was also telling myself, building this business, building the Airbnb business was like one, just being afraid of like having regret again. But the other thing too is I'm first generation Filipino. So I've seen my mom bust her freaking ass. She came from the Philippines, barely spoke the language here, and busted her ass and studied to become an anesthesiologist. My dad was in the Navy and was able to bring her over and bring her family over. And just kind of growing up, I remember there was like three families living in like a one bedroom apartment in LA, and like that's kind of how we lived when we were super young. And honestly, I owe a lot of where I'm at to my parents, especially my mother. She's always been the reason why I do things is, she busted her ass, and like I cannot not be extraordinary. She didn't come all the way, leave her family, go across seas for me to just be average. So that's always been something that's been kind of like a chip on my shoulders. Like I just want to make my mom proud. Not just for her, but also for me. Like I feel like going back to that identity thing that I was telling you, it's just like I've I've gotten a taste of kind of like the sweet life of being able to travel, do some luxurious things here and there. And like now that I've got a taste of it, I'm like, I want to fucking do that all the time. Like, I want to be able to build this lifestyle where I get to choose my own hours. I'm, being able to collect rent checks, having that financial abundance. Because before I got into the place where I'm at now, and I actually used to be, I lost my job back in like 2019 throwing music festivals. I let that party lifestyle get a hold of me, got fired, long story short. And at the time I was actually like homeless. I was like sleeping from couch to couch. And I remember in that moment, I was just like, this fucking sucks, dude. I'm so angry at myself. Like I can't take care of myself. Like, and I was just thinking like what kind of man can't even take care of himself, let alone like if he has a family or kids, like what kind of man is that? Like I was just so disappointed in myself. And when I got to that rock bottom, I told myself like I will never let myself be in that position again. And that was the big motivating factor of like busting my ass off in sales, learning coaching, because I was in such a bad point to where it was like I'm willing to do whatever it takes, invest. Like even if I get scammed on these coaching courses, like I did my due diligence, wasn't enough apparently. But I'm in so much pain that I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Made some mistakes along the way, but I'm happy where it brought me because it just made me tougher. And I'd say those are the two big things that motivate me is like my family, and then just the vision I have of myself. And then I guess the third thing is just having that rock bottom moment of not being able to take care of myself is like I never want that ever to happen to me again, and I won't. So, yeah.
Amazing story, man. Amazing story. Very inspirational. That's a perfect example, like you mentioned, to go through the challenges, the failures, the difficult times and situations that we go through, rather than letting that, just allow you to quit. You let that push you forward. And the most impressive thing is that you're taking that and leveraging it to help other people do the same. So very proud of you, man. And
Thank
that's
you,
that's
brother.
that's awesome, man. So, lastly, I want to just end with, I know, tell us a little bit about the 100-day sobriety challenge and how that's going.
Yeah, dude, thank you for asking. So, just a little bit about me. I've always been very like motivated and very big on self-development. Something my friend told me was, because I did, if anyone knows this, do you know what the 75 hard challenge is? Have you ever
Yeah,
heard of
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I actually did that like 2 years ago, and that was the most locked in I'd ever been. Like I was just like relationship, health wise, business wise, just so locked in. And it felt so great. I was really like pushing like my physical boundaries. I was so fit. Like that was the healthiest I had been since before I started doing drugs, like smoking weed, drinking, and other things. And that was the first time I'd ever been sober for so long because it was usually if I'm not drinking on the weekends, then I'll be smoking during the weekdays or something. Like I guess I was like escaping. And I just felt really good when I wasn't doing that. And during that process, I was telling my buddy about that, and he was just like, Yeah, Miguel, like you've always had like a ton of potential. Like you always had the desire of crushing it. And honestly, for compared to the average person, you are doing a lot more, but you never had the discipline to really like sacrifice and stop doing some of the things that you know you shouldn't be doing. And that just really struck a chord with me. And honestly, after I did the 75 hard, I kind of like went back into my old ways. And I've been thinking like ever since then, I was like, I want to go for 100 days now, and I'd just been thinking about it. And the same buddy that I was referring to over that got me into Airbnb, he's like 120 something days sober. And I went out, partied with him. He didn't do anything, didn't drink or anything. And that really motivated me, inspired me. I was like, dude, again, if you could freaking do it, I could do it. So, now I'm actually on day 18 of 100. I'm doing this with my girlfriend, which is really awesome because it's helping us get closer as a relationship, holding each other accountable. But basically, with this challenge, it's like a no vice challenge, right? No smoking, no drinking, no drugs of any sort. No porn, no masturbation, like that. That's definitely something I feel like nobody ever talks about it because it's such a personal thing. But I'm sure so many people deal with that struggle, and it's so readily available, and that's something her and I are both cutting out. And then also just taking her fitness a lot more seriously, sticking with the diet, eating more clean, going to at least getting some sort of physical activity every day for 45 minutes. And we're only on day 18 out of 100, and I feel absolutely amazing. I feel like this is my locked in season. And I've still gone out to social outings, partying. But like now I feel like instead of picking up a drink, I'm like dancing or DJing or just having better conversations with people. And something I want to take into this challenge is not make the same mistake I did last time. Was like, okay, I hit the goal. Now I could go back to being a piece of shit. This time I want to be like, okay, I did my 100 days. I'm going to do some sort of weekend celebration. But after that, like really being disciplined with the only times I do anything is when I'm celebrating a major win or like it's a very special occasion. I feel like a lot of people, they work their 9 to 5s or do their business or whatever, but then on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, they're like, okay, let's go get shit faced and really get really drunk. And honestly, like growing up now, it's just like it's such a big commitment. You spend so much money on Ubers, drinks, food, and then the whole next day you feel like absolutely crap. Like it sucks. So that's kind of how what's motivated me in getting into this. And so far, the challenge has been really great. I've been updating people on it, and I'm excited to see how I turn out by day 100. But I've already seen tons of change so far.
Nah, that's awesome. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. That's amazing, and wishing you the best on this journey. I know it's tough, and I'm sure you're gonna feel so much better. It's gonna bring the best out of you, and best of luck on that, man. That's amazing. So
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
so tell us if our listeners or if someone wants to reach out to you, learn more about you, the services you offer, or maybe like join your coaching program. Can you tell us what is the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, reach out. If your credit's not in the ideal space, we do done for you credit repair. If you don't have the time or you just don't want to learn the funding game, we'll do the whole funding process for you. I prefer to do the one-on-one coaching just because it's a lot more fulfilling for me, and I like seeing people, get that light bulb in the back of their head once they learn it. But if you guys have any questions, even if you're not gonna buy, like I'd love to educate you guys, send some resources. Best way of contacting me is I'm very active on Instagram. It's Motive Miggle, Motivmiggle. You can just DM me on there. I also have a free private Facebook group. This is honestly one of the best communities because literally I hop on there every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, and I just drop game on everybody. I'm like, hey, this is how you optimize your credit profile or whatever to get you guys ready for business credit. And then once you guys are at that point, you know who to hit up. I've already given you tons of free information that people are charging a lot of money for. I'm gonna just give it to you guys for free, build that trust, and you guys know who to hit up. You could just DM me on Instagram and I'll send you that invite. We'd love to have you there, get you engaged. And then if you want to learn more, just go to motivemiggle.com, motivmiggle.com, and you can learn more about us there. But Appreciate you. This was an awesome podcast. Thank you for having me, brother.
Of course, man. Yeah, and we'll leave that information also in the comment section below. I truly appreciate you taking the time, man. I learned a lot. We've talked about this, but I still learned a lot right now, and I'm sure our listeners
Yeah.
learned a lot. So, thank you for sharing all this, and I look forward to connecting with you more. And appreciate all you do for the community, man. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
No problem, man. I appreciate you. Same to you, man. I know you've got that same mission. You've already had some success with real estate, and you're looking to help kind of the newer generation or just people who don't know too much on it. And I know you and I are doing great things. So I'm happy to have us connected.
That's what it's all about, man. Thank you.
Awesome, brother.
Thank you all for joining us on the Burr Investor Podcast. If you found today's episode helpful, please hit like and subscribe to our channel for more real estate insights. We love hearing from you, so please leave your thoughts, questions, or topics you'd like us to cover in the comments section below. Be sure to check out our website, theburrinvestor.com, and follow us on social media at The Burr Investor. Keep learning and investing, and we'll see you in the next episode. I'm your host, Alex Nale. Stay invested.